Hi, I'm Dr. Donald Boomgaarden, President of St. Joseph's University, New York, and I'd like to welcome you to Living Our Mission. Founded by the Sisters of St. Joseph more than 100 years ago, St. Joseph's is a mission-driven institution that provides a strong academic, value-oriented education with campuses in Patchogue and Brooklyn, as well as online. Thank you for joining us. In this program, we will continue our inside look at our brand new state-of-the-art Student Center. The 32,000 square foot center is a central hub for student life and a home away from home for our students. It features a dining hall, art gallery, chapel, veterans lounge, spirit gift shop, esports unit, computer and lounge spaces, conference and meeting rooms, and offices for faculty, staff, and student clubs. Here to talk about campus ministry is our Director of Campus Ministry for the Long Island campus, Jonathan Gallo, joining me today in the new chapel. Such a thrill to be sitting in this new chapel, Jonathan. It's the tangible result of years of work, and it's just a gorgeous space. We're doing several of our segments, several of our programs about the new Student Center, and so I wanted to do a special program here in the chapel itself, because for me, this is a central axis of the entire campus. And as our viewers can probably see from the windows, you can see the quadrangle of the entire campus. And this chapel, which is dedicated to the Sisters of St. Joseph, is a special place, a special sacred space for our students of all faiths and denominations. A lot of people think of us as a Catholic institution, and we certainly are that, traditionally a Catholic inspired institution, but we also have students from many faiths here, and we greet that and embrace that. And I know you, as campus minister, that's a part of your function, is helping all of the students that are here, Catholic and non-Catholic, to find their spiritual home, to find whatever it is that's deep inside them that is meaningful. We have a special core value here, spiritual values, where we emphasize the spiritual as well as the intellectual. And that sets us apart in many ways from other institutions. Now, you've joined us just not very long ago. Tell me a little bit about your background and what brought you to St. Joseph's.
Yes, well, thank you. It's great to be here at St. Joseph's. I'm really happy with my time here. I've only started since July, but I came here from Massachusetts, from Cape Cod, actually. I worked in a parish, St. Joseph's Parish, actually, for 8 years.
There's always a plan.
There's always a plan. St. Joseph is always with me.
Yes.
So I was there for 8 years as Director of Faith Formation and Director of Technology. So I worked with students from grades 1 through grade 9, working through their whole catechetical formation, from First Communion all the way through confirmation, and then past that as well. But my wife and I, we have a 2-year-old daughter. Her name is Elena. We moved down here to be closer to my wife's family, and God willing, I have this job here at St. Joseph's.
Well, I think the fact you were at St. Joseph's Parish, I think it makes perfect sense to me.
I think so.
Right? And that's part of our dual journeys together, is becoming closer to St. Joseph's. As you know, I came here from the University of Scranton via Loyola New Orleans, Loyola Baltimore. So I was working most of my career with the Jesuits. And when I first arrived here, I realized very quickly, even in my interview, I realized how close the spirituality of the sisters and the Jesuits were aligned, which is something we can come back to and talk more about. But right now, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about, what do you do here on campus? What are some of the responsibilities of the campus minister?
So I see my job as kind of really being the person that really represents that spiritual side of the campus. You know, we're founded in the tradition of the Sisters of St. Joseph in the Catholic tradition. So really being that person for the students to come to share in that mission of spirituality. You know, faith is so important for our students today, especially as we kind of navigated out of a pandemic and just trying for them to find their place in the world. So for me, I see my job as really being there for them and just being a person for them to come talk to, you know, also providing events as well, but really just being that spiritual presence for them. here on the campus. We also have, a wonderful priest, Father Frank Pizzarelli. He's fantastic, but he's one person too. So it's a little bit hard to just have that one figure here on the campus. So I'm very glad to be here and be that presence for the students.
And how have you found the students so far?
They're fantastic. They're just a phenomenal group of students. They really are just easily approachable. It's such a difference between working with young kids, obviously, because I was working with their parents more than them, but and that's certainly a different demographic. But college students, I think, are just a fantastic group of people. They're just so excited, happy to be here, and just really get to know them and talk to them. I've had students just in the last 2 months drop by my office and just want to talk and be like, hey, I have this going on in life. And I walk them through that, and it's been a really rewarding experience and one that I was hoping for this position.
I think that the students, both here and in Brooklyn, really, many of them are coming to St. Joseph's from families where maybe no one has gone to college before. So we have a lot of first-generation students, and we also have a good number of older students, military veterans. All of them are coming in kind of on different places in their faith journey, and so I think for us, when we think about campus ministry, it's really finding ways to involve all of those students at the various places they're at in life, taking them where they're at and helping them to move forward. What are some of the things that we offer to students from the campus ministry office?
Absolutely. So I think this is, we have a great diversity of things so far. I mean, I've only been here 2 months, but I think we do offer a great range of things. So we do offer daily mass twice a week on Monday and Wednesdays. Hopefully here in our chapel soon, where we're just finishing up a little work in here. So we'll have an opening mass very soon with that. So for right now, it's in our old chapel in O'Connor Hall. We also do a weekly Zoom session called Pray It Forward. That's on Tuesdays from 4 to 4:15, where we read the gospel of the day. We also do a little reflection on that. And then we also offer up our community prayers as a community. So that's been going well. We also just did interfaith prayer service the other day ago for peace in the Middle East. So we involved not only our Catholic Christian students, but we also involved our Jewish students and Muslim students as well. So it was a really great multi-faith experience and opportunity for students to kind of come together. So we try to do different things like that throughout the whole year. And like I said, it's only the start. So we have a lot more to look forward to in the coming months.
Now, for students who are, let's say a student comes to our campus and they want to explore their faith, but they also want to get involved in issues related to social justice or improving the world, what kinds of opportunities do we offer them?
Yes, so we offer a lot of great service opportunities. I actually just got done with a meeting with the student, one of our sororities. We're going to be doing a Thanksgiving food drive to support some local food charities here. We're going to be doing a Christmas gift drive to support Wyandanch Homes and Properties, which kind of helps families kind of transition out of poverty and back into providing for them as well. So we're going to be doing that. We're also going to be looking into an alternative spring break during our spring break time. So going somewhere outside of the walls of St. Joseph's, outside of the walls of even New York, really to a different community and really kind of helping them out there.
I think that's something which our viewers would find pretty interesting, is that, for at St. Joseph's, when we talk about alternative spring break, we're not talking about a special cruise with sandals down to Bermuda, but we're talking
which would be nice.
Might be nice, but our students want to go and they want to help build houses.
Yes.
They want to help people who are in need.
Absolutely. I think it's just a great opportunity. When I was an undergraduate, I went to St. Leo University in Florida, and that was one of the hallmarks of our university. We had these alternative spring break trips. So my freshman year, I went down to the Florida Keys and literally lived on an island for a week and did environmental cleanup. People went to the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and really did a lot of work there. So I'm really excited to kind of bring that same energy and same type of programming to St. Joseph's. That
would be wonderful, and it would be a part of our tradition. We've done a lot of things like that in the past, and I think that for many students, those experiences have been, I wouldn't say more valuable, but certainly as valuable as their classroom experiences.
Yes, absolutely. I think so. I think it's very rewarding and just a fantastic experience for a lot of students who, they live at home. They're commuting to school here, so it really gives them a different perspective of the world.
Yeah, the ability to actually go out and physically engage in helping others brings you closer to God. And in a sense, I think for a lot of our students, there's a real need for that. There's a desire to somehow make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. And if we're connecting everything back to the mission of the Sisters of St. Joseph, it just becomes even more of a thing to do. to really kind of connect to their mission, because they're doing a lot of work, fantastic work.
They have such a long tradition, right, of helping the underserved, and in many ways, St. Joseph's University itself owes its existence to that, because their desire was to serve young women at the time, back at the turn of the century, who were unable to go to colleges for various reasons, and give them a wonderful learning opportunity to go out and then become, in many cases, teachers in the beginning, but now we've branched out into so many areas. But that's been a part of their tradition. Now, we're sitting in the new chapel.
Yes.
And I know you had a chance to kind of interact with the wonderful people that helped design it. How do you think this chapel and the new Center for Ministry are going to, what role and what is this new space going to mean to the students, do you think?
Yeah, I think this space is just going to be a wonderful experience. You know, our architect, Lawrence Hoy, he's a renowned architect from Connecticut, and he's done a lot of great stuff. He did work with the sisters. He's actually still doing work with the sisters. He's done other churches and universities. He's actually even built several things for the last 3 popes' visits. So Pope Francis, Pope Benedict, and Pope John Paul II, he actually did pieces for them as well. So he's very renowned for his work. So we're very lucky to have him do a lot of the work here in our chapel. But last week we've had students come in. You know, we opened up the Student Center last Friday with the ribbon cutting, and now we've had students coming in every single day, and everybody's breath just gets taken away when they stop in here. They're like, wow, this is truly amazing. I've had students come up to me and say, you know, I never really felt comfortable going into the old chapel. It was so dark and isolating and so far away. But they really kind of seemed excited about coming here. And they've asked me, oh, when do you offer masses and this and that? And so I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for students to use the space. Our interfaith room, which is, we're still kind of doing little finishing touches on that, is I'm super excited about as well. I was talking to one of our Muslim students the other day ago, and she was so excited to have a space on campus that she could finally use with her fellow peers. And that wasn't a classroom. I think they were using a biology classroom for a little bit of time and using, you know, our old chapel, which is, you know, fine. I'm happy to have that space. But now that we have an interfaith room, and she's excited, and we're working, I'm going to use hers, like when we're setting up the design, how to best serve their needs. So I think people are going to be really excited about this space, and they are right now.
And we've also located your office directly next to it.
Yes, which is great.
Which
So I
before
don't have to
wasn't
walk
the
down the
case,
hall.
right? Right. So now when a student comes into the building, if they see the chapel, they have a chance to interact with you. They have a chance to connect, whatever their spiritual background is. They have a home here. And you know, we're a school that really emphasizes that sense of spirituality, because we're seeking to not just lead students to have a great career and a great certificate, a great degree, but also we're interested in them as people and what happens to them when they leave and what kind of joy they can find in life. Well, we have to take a quick break, but still to come, more about the campus ministry experience at St. Joseph's University. Welcome back to St. Joseph's University, New York, living our mission. We were discussing the campus ministry experience at St. Joseph's University, New York. Jonathan, you've worked in faith formation and ministry for 10 years, both on college campuses and also in Catholic parishes. What do you think the main spiritual challenges are for young people and returning adult students who arrive at St. Joseph's?
Yes, so I thought a lot about this question. I think that it's twofold. You have a group of students who really are passionate about their faith. They do have a life of faith. They are nurtured in their faith at home, but they don't feel necessarily comfortable in sharing that faith among their peers. It's not the cool thing, so to speak. So I think that's one of the challenges. So you have that group of students, but then you have a larger, even larger, can't give you percentages wise, but an even larger population who, you know, maybe they grew up with their grandparents going to church or having, you know, a faith life at home. It's a lot of times from the grandparents. And they just don't see a priority for that right now. And I think that's a challenge that they face. And you know, as I said before, we came out of a pandemic. These students, a lot of these students, even our adult learners too, were locked inside. We were in front of a computer during a time when, you know, especially with college, is going to be a time for formation, right? We're learning, we're growing as people during this time. And these students are coming from high school as well, which is an equally important transition period in their time as well. So it's a really tough challenge there for them. So I think one of the challenges that they face is trying to find that sense of faith and trying to find how faith can play a role in their lives. And that's my hope as director of campus ministry here, is to help nurture that life of faith with the students.
Yeah, I think one of the beauties of St. Joseph's, and I'd say this of Catholic higher education in general, is that the student can come to campus and explore their spiritual natures freely. In other words, without condemnation. You know, we embrace that, whereas at some institutions, that's really not the case. I remember I worked at state universities until I started with the Jesuits in Baltimore at Loyola. And I worked for 20 years as part of the state system of Maryland, University of Maryland. And when I got on campus at Loyola, I remember feeling immediately at home, like I had been on a long trip and suddenly I had arrived home. And I couldn't really describe it in words, but I just had a sense of peace and a sense of arrival, that I was now in an environment where people shared that deep interest in spirituality, and they saw the presence of God in all things, you know. So, and they may have been from different faith backgrounds, but there was still the openness to talk about that.
I would agree. I would agree from my own experiences too, having gone to 3 different Catholic institutions. This is my 4th Catholic school to be a part of. And I really do think, at least for myself, that experience of belonging and community. And it's just something there. You feel at home. You felt comfortable. You didn't feel like you were alienated. Yeah. You didn't feel like you were just a number in the system or something like that. Even at a larger school, I went to Boston College for my 2nd master's degree, and I truly felt a part of that community and felt like I was welcome there by all of our students.
I think it's such an important aspect and such an important part of who we are as an institution, sets us apart from other institutions around us, I think, is that the spiritual life of the student is important to us, and it manifests itself in things like this chapel, the activities on campus, student government, having an office of campus ministry, but also in the classroom itself where we explore all of these issues. And as I said, it's not just about Catholicism, it's about a connection to something higher, a higher sense of being, God himself, or that feeling of rising outside of yourself. And I think that, you know, you've had this breadth of experience with very young people to now adult age people who are kind of on different stages of that journey.
Absolutely. I think it's, you know, I've said this to the students here, and I've actually had the great opportunity to speak to a couple of classes so far about this and how important just having faith in something. You know, obviously I'm a little biased. I kind of want to have people have faith in the Catholic faith, but I said having faith in something, regardless of what that is so important. It really kind of helps keep you grounded. It really kind of helps give you direction. It helps you navigate through all your feelings too. You might have periods of, you know, joy and happiness, which is fantastic. You know, Pope Francis talks about the joy of the gospel and being happy and joyful in knowing God. But we also have times of sadness and great despair, and knowing that we can turn to something, whatever it is. Again, we have that. And I really want to, again, instill that within our students, that they can turn to something, whatever it is for them.
I think that as you say that, I remember I was fortunate enough 2 times to see Pope John Paul II in person, both when I was in Europe as a student. And I remember him coming, speaking at a huge plaza full of young people, because it was about a kind of a youth event. And I remember his message of the day was, do not let the world steal your joy. It was all about, don't let the world steal your joy. And I thought that was a magical thing to say,
That's a wonderful saying.
Right?
Yep.
And I think that's what we're about. You know, we want the students to connect with their joy and to have that sense of belonging and kind of a perspective on life that may take away some of the great anxiety that they feel. Because when we talk about problems of students today, certainly, you know, we have more and more students that need psychological help. We have more and more students that are taking various types of drugs to help them deal, to help them cope. And really an explosion across the country, sadly, of teen suicide. All of these things kind of relate to that unsuccessful search for something greater to believe in.
Yeah, a sense of belonging,
Yeah.
I think, is really kind of factors into that. And again, when we dealt with isolation for 3 years of our lives, you know, how do we kind of bring back and come back together? And I think we're starting to see sparks of that, especially here. as I said, when students come into our new chapel and having that space available for them, I think we've seen that. And the whole student center as a whole, I heard a couple of students say, this truly now feels like a university. We feel like an actual school with this building here. So I think this is a great stepping stone in the right direction towards building that.
Yeah. Well, I've been here, this is my 7th year now, and when I first got here, I keenly was aware that the students really didn't have a space of their own, and even though we had some nice spaces in the other buildings for them, it wasn't quite the same as what we finally were able to construct here with the aid of many donors, including many of the donors that contributed to create this chapel. And the donors are often motivated through faith. And of course, this chapel, the chapel dedicated to the Sisters of St. Joseph, we had a number of donors for whom this was a really an important aspect of the Student Center. And I know you went to Boston College. I spent so much time at the various Loyola universities. The sisters, when they were founded in 1650, there was a Jesuit present. I like the way they put it, there was a Jesuit present. and the Jesuit was Father Jean Médaille. And the sisters to this day still use his maxims in their training. And I was just curious, do you see, as I do you see some of the relationships between the Jesuits and the sisters' spirituality as you come here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the Jesuits, they're marked by their phrase, for the greater glory of God. And I think that is what the sisters do in everything that they do. I had a great opportunity a few weeks back to go visit their campus in Brentwood and just to see the type of work that they do. And then also having them come here and getting to meet them, it was just a fantastic experience because I hadn't met so many of them up until, the ribbon cutting. So it was really to just see them and just see, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but you just know that they're doing something beyond themselves. They're going far and beyond to provide for other people and to really do it all for the glory of God. And I think that's the same thing with the Jesuits, having spent so much time with them as well.
I think there's that emphasis of doing things for God and an emphasis on excellence. Excellence on academic rigor.
Yes.
So when you look at the programs that we have, the way they're administered, the expectations of the students are very high. We don't set them so high they can't reach them.
Yeah, no,
but,
absolutely.
But they're high, and we're not ashamed to say that. That's why our rankings continue to go up every year.
Absolutely, and I think in talking to the students, they say to me, "Oh yeah, I have a lot of this work," but I think they appreciate the work too. And I think our faculty here is phenomenal. From the few that I have met, we are really lucky to have so many great people here at the university.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned service trips, you mentioned alternative spring break. What are some other things that you would like to see happening at St. Joe's in the coming couple of years for you?
So in the future, I would love to kind of bring back a lot of some of our student groups. So we used to have a Newman Society here for our Catholic students. I would love to bring something back like that. Over on our Brooklyn campus, we have a Muslim Student Association. And I've talked to several of our Muslim students here in Patchogue, and they really would love to bring that back as well. So I'm looking to explore for those options as well. And I think just continued programming, having, we have this great space here. We have projector system that comes down from the ceiling, which is really cool. So really high tech in this chapel. We also have live streaming capabilities. So I would love to be able to utilize the space for a lot of different events. So utilize it for guest speakers, have some guest speakers come in, or really do some nice, more intimate prayer services as well. I think there's a lot of great opportunities here.
Yeah, I think all of those things will, contribute to, the overall mission of helping our students gain spiritual depth. And again, going back to the Jesuit phrase, of course, the cura personalis, the care of the whole person, the development of the whole person. So that through all of those activities, whether they're Catholic-based or not,
absolutely,
the students are having these experiences of interacting with others and finding a way to express something that's deep inside all of them, but which up to this point may not have been expressed. Right?
I agree.
Yeah. Now, as you think too about the future, on the academic side of the house, we have a first-year experience type of program. What kinds of interactions do you think you'll have with that?
I would hope to get more involved with first-year experience. One of the thoughts I had too, I've seen at other universities and talking to some of other campus ministers in the last couple of months, is that they offer retreat programs for our incoming freshmen, which I would think would be a fantastic opportunity to offer that, and to the rest of our students as well. So retreats are kind of big on the list as well at some point.
That would be marvelous. And we've had a few already, we had a few previously at Brentwood, for example, where we were able to combine students from both campuses.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that idea of finding a way to link both campuses together,
I think so.
would be certainly very much in our tradition and something that we want to do.
Yeah. The campus minister, Vernon, over there, he's fantastic, and we've really connected really well when we first met over the summer, and he's just been a great resource to reach out to and collaborate with.
Well, Jonathan, it's wonderful to have you on board with us. I think that it reminds me of what was said to me by one of the sisters when I was interviewed to be president. I said, well, I've been working with the Jesuits for 20 years, and she said, we won't hold that against you. And I think she meant that playfully.
No, she did.
But the idea is that we have our own special spirituality here at St. Joseph's, and we're on this journey to come closer to St. Joseph, who's a really mystical and fascinating saint. And I think you're the perfect person to help us to do that.
Thank you.
I'm so thrilled to have you. I know the students are thrilled to have you, and looking forward for great things from you in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and it's been wonderful talking with you today.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you all for watching St. Joseph's University, New York, living our mission.